Hello, everyone. Welcome today here at the Sit with D. We have another exciting episode, and today we have a guest, Fabio, who is a marketing expert in the field of SEO, and my regular co-host partner, Denis, and me, Dora. So we three are going to discuss together the big shift that is going on today due to the presence of AI in the field of SEO and digital marketing. Yeah, I think we can get started with that. But before we do so, please, everyone can just say one word or one sentence about who you are and how you connect to this topic.
Yep. So I'm digital marketer since I think almost actually 20 years. I'm not that young anymore. Doing SEO and ASO too since I would say 10, 12 years. Of course, dealing with the influence or the changes that the GPTs are bringing to our job in both senses, as actively and passively, so to say.
Hi everyone, I'm Denis. I'm a XUX designer. I do have my own design studio, designing innovative products. And now we are tapping into LLM visibility, and this is one of the things that we are going to talk about today.
Yeah, and no surprise, I'm still Dora, and I'm I'm a product strategist and startup consultant. There is obviously a habit change about how people search nowadays, not just on Google, but using the GPT models, and it has a significant effect on like how you build and position your product. So this has a significant effect on my work as well, and I'm super excited to understand how can we do it even better. Yeah, let's just dive in and first maybe unpack like how is this big shift or what is actually happening. So giving a bit of context, there are two directions that are going on. One is like the Google AI overview shift, which is that Google introduced the AI overview maybe a year ago, but first only in the US. And it was partially rolling it out, but now it's a global thing. And what does it mean? That basically the AI overview is going to give you the answer better than the original results, which is kind of bad news for the ones who were more the ad of a given product, not the product itself, because the users are not going to click any longer on those ads or even less than they did before. And it means a significant drop in organic click through. On the other hand, like there is the parallel shift that the younger generations and the more time conscious ones are moving from Google to GPTs. It's a kind of black box over there because the credibility and the up-to-dateness of the information those models present for the users sometimes questionable, and sometimes the links are not accurate, and there are some copyright issues maybe with the content. So yeah, feel free to comment on any of those parts when you feel ready, guys.
Yeah. I mean, if I can start.
Yeah, sure.
I think the trend is everywhere the same, right? I mean, if you say about new generation, I saw this even older generation adopting this IS ChatGPT instead of Googling something. As we saw in the past, even the switch from searching something on Google or using the voice search.
Yeah.
I think there are kind of same patterns. I think, at least in my experience, in my fields, the voice search didn't get really as expected. And I think that asking ChatGPT or any other model about information can be good with all the limitations that you already said. I mean, you still have to check the answer. You still have to, we don't know the source. So the sources are not provided. So it's everything a bit. So if you're looking for a quick information about when was somebody born, yes, it's useful. If you're looking for deeper researches, or when you're really looking for something, I think they still don't provide the information that you need. So I think you will lose traffic based on very generic searches. If you're looking for more detailed things, so the other day I was looking for how to do something on Dynamics on the CRM tool. Yes, there was, you can expand even the result that Google gives you, but it was not complete. So actually I was obliged to look more than instead of getting maybe the first result as I would have done in the past. So that's my point, my take on the topic.
Okay. Denis?
Yeah, actually, I couldn't agree more to what Fabio just mentioned. What I would like to add is that the topic is kind of broad, and if you go into any of social media, each second post will be about AI, about AI is here and there and everywhere. And I actually don't think that people should speak that much about technology itself, but more about the use cases. And speaking about the search, I think it's quite timely. We have a podcast because yesterday, if you have heard about, Perplexity has launched their AI first browser.
Mm-hmm.
And what they claim to do is to work as a browsing agent, and basically it just soak in and digest all the information from any website or any SaaS you're using, which will again change the game that has been changed quite recently. I haven't tried it yet. It's no ad. I don't advertise it. It's just a new way of looking at how people research information. But overall, I think that the shift has just started and we cannot observe the whole picture. But what I definitely see is that, let's say, the flow of how people behave has changed from looking for a result, then trying to understand if this suits your need, and then giving it a try. For example, if you're using Google search, to looking for the way how to solve your question, and then when you know how to solve it exactly, asking who is the best at solving your question. And with that in mind, using ChatGPT or whatever similar, you're halfway to the solution, and only then you're just selecting one of a few top offered candidates.
Yeah, so my take on this is that yeah, obviously with the new technologies and new ways, there is this excitement about let's try it, and depending on the easiness of the technology, there is an adoption rate which is like pretty good, let's say, with the AI. However, we were talking on the latest episode about this hype cycle that the users are already start to experiment, like in the disillusionment stage, that where are the flows and where it breaks and where it's not credible. So the magic of that, this is going to be the holy grail. It's kind of fading, which doesn't mean that it's not good, but it's just like it's not perfect, and you still need to have your common sense or stay conscious about it. What is in like a use case that Denis just mentioned? For example, I was trying to make an automation flow in make.com about one of the campaign strategies I'm trying to carry through. And I was getting to a reasonably good result. However, there were some point I got stuck. And when I asked one of the GPTs about the troubleshooting, there were some answers. They gave it to me, but the links there were in the results, those were broken or outdated and whatever. And it's not just like the chat GPT, because, for example, Cloud couldn't sometimes fetch the links, or DeepSeek also has its limitations, like time-wise. So yes, there is still place for the searches you perform in Google, but yeah, obviously there is this shift. With common sense and critical thinking, you can get definitely to a better point in a shorter amount.
We are an AI-based company. So we have a team of developing our AI model. It's not on the language. It's not a language model. It's for recognition of object at sea to improve security. And actually, the head of AI yesterday or 2 days ago actually said something. He was trying to explain a bit how everything works and how we are approaching the evolution. And he said actually there is nothing that AI can do that human cannot do. So it's, of course, it can learn. There are deep learning processes that are automated, and it will prove that to improve the score that they give to any task that is given to this model. But at the end of the day, I think, at least for now, I mean, I cannot predict the future. There is still the part where human has to have a check on the result. Otherwise, you risk to bring out something that is completely wrong. And it happened to me already. So, I learned from my mistake. I trusted too much GPT on a report where actually then the number were completely wrong. So
Yeah.
This is a very common thing. I would like to comment on the numbers, because normally the numbers are the failure point, especially at LLMs, because they were designed to work with language properly. And this is a friend of mine has made a tax mistake because of the wrong calculations.
Shall we talk about what are the reactions on these new movement, like who is using it or who is losing and who is pivoting? So obviously there are some impacts across the ecosystem, breaking it down into, like, let's say, content sites, recipe blogs or how-to guides, like the affiliate sites and aggregator platforms, and the third one, which is like the product-led content. So in the first two cases, they took the heaviest hit, I believe, on these changes, like bypassed by the AI overviews or not mentioned in the large language model engines. However, the ones that are product led, like for example, your case, Fabio, I think they can still leverage this new wave. If you can tell us like how you were managing this part, then it would be super useful to our audience, I believe.
So actually, we started having some leads coming from GPT searches. That's when we started thinking, we should prepare it before it gets too much. And then we actually, data is everything. So for us, it's important to know which channel are working better and so on. So that's when we started asking ourselves, where are we standing? What can we do to improve it? We even noticed there was so I work in the maritime world, so there is an American-based, I think, company that developed a boat. I mean, my pronunciation is not perfect,
Yeah.
but boat, yeah. So where actually you ask things regarding maritime world, and actually it crawled the maritime website, and it gives you the information. That's where actually we even saw the difference between a week, where at the beginning the result of asking what is the best camera with AI on the market, it was providing the result of CAI, so which is my company. And then when we requesting, so what is this company? What is doing this company? The first time the answer was not perfect, but close to the reality. But a week after, we tried the same thing, and actually it was something completely wrong.
Okay.
And the thing is that we don't have really the hand on those results, right? Let's say right now, if you work with backlinking with SEO, generally there is not an agreement, but they know what you're talking about is generally working together with the website owner, and which is something that right now it's not the case. We try to contact them in order to see, can we do something? So maybe give even permission to access our content, but then at least to get the right information for the end user. It was not possible. We are still trying it. And of course, we are trying to see how we can identify this traffic and be qualified correctly. So that it doesn't look like direct traffic, that it doesn't look like organic search, because for me, it's completely another channel. For the moment, we have, I think, 2% of the traffic coming from these kind of searches. The problem is that to optimize or to go in the direction of the generative engine optimization, you need another tool. The tools are not perfect. I mean, I tested a couple of them. Yeah. I mean, it's like SEMrush, I think maybe 15 years ago or something like this. Of course, they need time even to improve what they can offer. So yeah, it's a challenge for sure, because it's not something that we can leave on the side. So what we're doing is working on structured snippet to improve our general SEO. I think they don't go one versus the other one. I think they go hand by hand. And that's how we're trying to do it for now. And then let's see if things get better even on I think the problem right now for me, it's the audit of the actual status is difficult to measure. Even with these tools, I mean, some of them, they're quite expensive if you're not like a bit concerned, where you can really maybe even try it with a higher budget. But if you work in a smaller team with a bit, I don't say reduced, but not so unlimited budget, of course, yeah, it's something that it will come maybe at the second stage.
Yeah, maybe an extended note that you mentioned your organic searches were not dropping significantly due to the recent changes.
No, we see an increase of 10% in organic searches since February.
Okay. But you are like explicitly saying like you are a product company,
Yes.
so you are not
Yes.
an affiliate site, you are
No.
not a
No.
content site, you have your own product, and that's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. That might be one of the reasons. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to maybe Fabio can share. So you said that right now you're working on, let's say, traditional SEO rules because they work pretty much the same for LLM engines, or how do you see, like, what would be your one or three key actions, for example, if you would give an advice to the other founders or marketers who would like to be let's say featured or cited in AI LM search results?
So I think generally working on the structure of the content will allow the GPT model to understand the content, which doesn't mean they're going to cite it in their results. So together with the AIO, so the artificial intelligence optimization, which is anyway, it works a bit like the search engine, right? So he has to understand what this text is about before then being able to publish it. And then there is this generative engine optimization, where actually you can work. So what we're doing as a practical thing is not just working, title, meta title is a very SEO meta title. I don't think it's a big impact. What we are really trying to do is to rewrite the content to make it more understandable.
Like
Which
with
is
schema?
Yes.
Like schema markups?
Yeah. I think the snippet and the markups, they help because it's the easy access to the content. And we're trying to rework a lot on FAQs. I think generally, in my experience in the last year, FAQs, they were only this marketing text, right? There were never searches or questions that, or rarely, I'd say I worked in many companies. Generally, 80% were what we thought users were looking for, and 20% maybe coming from somebody that had a direct approach to the end user. Now we are doing this. We are taking advantage of summer, which is let's say people are a bit on holiday, so it's a bit less volume of work. But really to rework this. So actually we're centralizing all the feedback that we got. It can be via social media. It can be via the sales team. It can be via the client's feedback service that we have, and trying to see what are the most common thing and what are really people asking. Let's remove the marketing part and let's get more. I think, but this should be something already. If you work in UX, that's what we should be trying to do already for years, right? Get closer to the user than
Users and their actual
so be more
pain
focused,
points.
so user centered and more company centered. And I think this is a good maybe occasion to start rethinking what we already have on the website. I don't say just making it more accessible, but even more understandable. It happens, at least in the B2B, it happens many times that you read the website, you still don't understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
So if we cannot understand it, maybe the machine even won't understand it. So let's structure it, let's use the schema, and then rework the content that we have to try to get even in this.
I think how heavy it's interlinked with the content that is on social media.
It's hard to say because I never read very specific data on this. When we talk about social media, for me, we come back to the authority of the content. Let's say I'm more pessimist than than optimistic. Even Twitter, so X, before it was the most authoritative, let's say, social media where the journalists were published. So actually, you could have more trust in these channels. Personally, everybody's posting right now, and you don't know where this is coming from. Apart of the fake news that, I think fake news and wrong use of GPTs actually is hand to hand. It's the simplification of something. We should move in making the use responsible, because I think that's the point, right? Everybody can use a phone, but how do you use it? Maybe it can change your life. Everybody can use ChatGPT, but depending on how you structure the prompt, what you ask, which background information you give, it's not just asking when is somebody born, because this doesn't bring you any much more value than if you'd have looked on Wikipedia or on an old encyclopedia. If you manage to get some automation, like Dora was saying before, and to remove some useless work, then you have to know how to use the tool. The tool doesn't make the magic itself. So for us as a company, so we sell product and we have to be not just on Google, we have to be even on social media. So this is the hard job for me. I think delivering useful content, and it's always hard because not all the users are the same, not all the readers are the same. And the meta title doesn't make a difference on all the rest. So it's a multi-factor that they come together.
Yeah, so it's no one fit for all solution,
No.
definitely. And what you were also saying about this, use it wise and use it smart. So like in every case, it's a tool, okay? So in the end of the day, and you are the one who is using it. So it's your choice or responsibility. How can you make the most out of it? And considering that the use of large language models and engines, it's like significant amount of energy. We better use it like smart and not just waste it for the worst. But let's move on. Maybe, sorry. Yeah.
No, just as small, I think what it's going into the direction of these more authoritative results is the option pay per crawl. So some GPTs are offered those. So you as a company, you get paid to scroll your website, right?
Yeah.
And this could be maybe, well, I mean, not everybody's going to do it, of course, right? So only if somebody has the authority and the knowledge. In that case, I think we can get even more trustful results. But if we crawl everything that is crawlable and just give out results, it's hard to discern what it's important, what it's right, from what it's complete or not complete.
Yeah, so my suggestion is to move on, like what we already started to discuss, that what we can still do, like which are the tactics that would hold up. And we started to tap into like this technical SEO in terms of the schema markups, multi-channel visibility, and how the content should be. Yeah, in terms of like the technical SEO, we mentioned the scrollability and the indexability, also like anything that makes it easier for AI to interpret your content. And the multi-channel visibility is like yeah, like we mentioned already, these new directions like the GPTs are walking hand in hand with the Google. So it's like the GPTs, the Google, the social platforms, the forum. And it's like based on your audience needs, you have to prioritize like which channel you push more effort to, because like we said, your audience might not ever read a Reddit comment or a Reddit part. But any comments on this, maybe from your end, Denis, this time?
Yeah, just wanted to question the thing about know your audience. I think it's brilliant approach. But nowadays, as major paradigm shifts in how people consume information, it started to become a bit harder to do so, simply because I've heard from many people, and I also felt this myself, that most of, for example, social media like LinkedIn has become just a river of generated content, and not only content itself, but also comments, likes, etc. It's like, everything has started to look like plastic. And with that in mind, it started to feel like, yes, you still need to post things to publish, to keep up your brand, to keep your visibility, or to keep your personal brand visible, but still taking into account the fact that the farther we go, the let's say the harder would be the competition to float on the top of all that synthetic content generated that is already put on auto posting. And because of that, I would question yourself whether or not you really know what your audience consumption habits are, because they are changing right now.
Sorry, but I don't agree in this, like, because it's like the fact that something is hard doesn't mean that it's not the good way to carry through. Because if you don't have a connection with your audience, then there is no other way to figure it out, how to channel your message to them. So yes, maybe it's going to be harder to figure out where exactly you should contact them, but like the key is like evergreen. Like if you don't have a market for what you are doing, meaning you don't have a contact with them, then you are doomed. So just because it's going to be harder to get traction, it doesn't mean that you don't have to know your audience and their consumption habits. It's going to be harder to figure it out, but this is the only way to go through.
I would like to point out that perhaps it's not about forgetting about your audience consumption habits, but mostly about seeing that in social media where the consumption habits were, now it might change. Well, this is my personal hunch that it will change, but it doesn't mean that you should not nurture your prospects. It's more of a shift in the way how you look at it and building, let's say, more intimate circle of trust, be that email, Telegram, whatever community SaaS is.
Think that's what we were referring about, like being multi-channel. So not only social media, but like having the different channels. So social media is one of them, which is getting saturated recently and hard to cut through the noise. But obviously there are other channels to do so.
I think
so. Yeah, go on.
So just an interesting point, I think, in this topic is that there was an American owner of a marketing agency where she saw last year the drop in clients because everybody was trying GPTs, right? And even me personally, in the previous company, actually at the same time, they said, well, actually, we don't need you anymore because I want to do everything with ChatGPT. You cannot do everything if you don't know how to do it. I mean, we are back in the past. So what happened, well, at least what this agency owner is seeing now is that, of course, not all of them, but some premium clients, actually, they moved back to her because they said, of course, if we all use ChatGPT and we use it like write me a LinkedIn post about something, you recognize it from the use of emojis, almost the same, the words, mostly the same. Cutting edge, if I see a cutting edge for me, with technology, it most probably coming from ChatGPT. So these premium clients, they realize that in order to be different from competitors and to differentiate themselves, maybe they had to go back to a human copywriter because, of course, and even she said, I mean, it's not that I don't use it, but when I use it, I tell my clients that I used ChatGPT for this, let's say to get fresh ideas, to get some hints, and then I choose and I develop that idea, but it's still then written by me. It's changing, but I think if we want to get in the market and be more present and be different, we have to find a way to do so. And if everybody's using the same way, the same tools, it's hard to get there.
Yeah, obviously there is the risk about being flat and being repetitive if everybody is using the same tool. And yeah, in these times, there is this strategic uncertainty about how to navigate the unknown because we were just moving back to the AIO, which is the AI overview on the Google, is like it's still a black box, what we were mentioning previously, because the reasoning behind it is not transparent. The models are changing constantly, like the models itself, the plugin availability, and the sourcing rules. Like you said, Fabio, there is no really real control over it. And there was another feature that Google was mentioning, like the multi-step reasoning, which is a bit more complex search. And this has the risk that it's shifting the original user intent to another direction, which is just making it harder to match your offering to that intent as well. So what can we actually do in this situation is like, yeah, we mentioned like knowing the audience, like the consumption patterns and generational differences, if that still matters. Like staying ethical, we talked about it, that about the copyrights and keeping that in mind. And maybe being resilient with the content strategies, like be adaptable to the upcoming and frequent shifts and not rely only on one platform. And measure like crazy, like you said, Fabio, like data is king. And if you don't know like where and how the traffic is coming from and like how can you have an effect on it, then you will face some serious issues and test and pivot. So there is no longer a set and forget word because it's just very turbulent and super fast evolving. Yeah.
I even think that the choice of the tool, depending on what you have to do, it's even crucial. I'm not going to mention, so we know lots of, I mean, I don't have to advertise anything, but we have lots of even, let's say everybody's working when you work with market, you have a CRM tool, you have SEO tool. So you have different things that they even offer AI right now, most of them. A social media tool use AI. So I think that generally, I'm not talking for all of them, but some of them, they offer these models within a protected environment. Because the risk of always using ChatGPT or any other open source GPTs is that you're making your information public. Sometimes it might be not very important. Sometimes it might be like sensitive data that is going to be displayed somewhere because you don't know where it's going to display and how it's going to display or how it's going to be used. So to limit even for a company this part, I think it's important to, at least that's what this CRM tool offers, and I think some other tool, working in a private environment where he has access, of course, to all your information, but you know that at least it's their interest in keeping it and their responsibility then to keep everything within that tool. I think for professional, it's already a step forward. You never know the use of it that can be done of the information you're providing this tool. So of course, if you're asking where shall I go to eat or what shall I cook tonight, it's one thing. If you're trying to make a PowerPoint presentation for an investor meeting and you're putting this data on an open source, it can be tricky. So we're talking about ethical use for the copywriting, but I even think for a company, it's important to choose wisely the tools that we are using in order to avoid some information getting out in the
leakages.
I think one critical key piece is also worth to mention is that you should also be like when you think about content, you should be crystal clear on your message. Like what problem does your brand solve? What's the audience? What's the way how you solve it? The more chances will be that you would be featured as number one suggestion just because you were crystal clear everywhere. We were discussing AIO, GEO, LLM visibility. Can you give your, let's say, professional explanation on these terms and what each term means and how they are different?
So for me, AIO, so artificial intelligence optimization, will allow the understanding of the website or the web page or the article or the video, depending on the channel you are using. While the generative engine optimization will allow you to be cited in the results. So they're actually complementary to each other, I would say. And they even go for me hand to hand with the traditional SEO. Because I think if you're doing SEO right, and I think we're in 2025 and many companies still don't do it, you have a good base for the AIO. So to get and understand it for these tools, to know and then there is the step forward to optimize towards these engines, which is then the GEO. So actually, it's more work for digital marketers, if you want. I don't think it's getting less from this side.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, so probably in the round of final takeaway, we can make some statements based on what we were just discussing and hearing, based on what I just heard and see. It seems to me that the era of SEO marketing, SEO only marketing is ending, and the AIO is here to stay, which is going to be a mix of different channels and tactics. So also the businesses must diversify their channels, what we already talked about, and prepare for this zero-click future, which is apparently coming up. Don't forget about the ethical AI content strategy, what we already mentioned, and keep in mind that your results should be measurable and they are the key to long-term growth. So what's your take, gentlemen?
Who is going first? Yeah, no, I mean, I agree on all the points. I just think that at least I think in the professional environment, and I've been working for companies since I think already 15 years. I mean, for agency already a long time ago. I think still people, as it happened for SEO, for most of them will take time. So I think if you start now taking care of at least the basic, you don't have to, I mean, it's an investment in resources too. No, somebody has to do the job. It's not that ChatGPT is going to do for you or anybody else. Get priorities. What are the top things to do? And start now, because I think if you're between the first, you have more chances of keeping then your momentum. If you start later, like lots of companies that are still not doing right SEO, then they're still suffering and trying to make the best out of it, but still improvising. So I think there is not a rule, there is not a Bible that say you have to do 1, 2, 3, and 4 and you're successful. But since it takes time and you have to try, so then I think better now than later.
Okay.
Well, you did a very good overview. So I could only say just keep pushing and be consistent, be crystal clear. I think this is the key in the noise. And extrapolating on what has been said before, there are some words that are heavily used by generative AIs, and this, cutting through the noise. I think that I learned that this phrase from ChatGPT, but I think it's gonna be quite useful and relevant in upcoming years.
Yeah, nice. So thank you, gentlemen. It was a blast to talk with you about this topic. I think we uncovered a lot of blurry spots as much as we could. And yeah, let's see what's ahead of us, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
thanks, Fabio, for joining us today. And I
Sure,
just
a
want to wrap
pleasure.
up that this is the 10th episode, right? And then we're gonna have a summer break and see you the summer.
Yeah.
Then enjoy your summer.